Now to the Sean Combs sex trafficking trial. Enters a fourth week of testimony as we hear from Suge Knight, Combs' rap rival whose name has come up often at the trial.
The air was electric backstage at the Barclay Center that night. Velvet ropes, booming bass, a swarm of VIPs milling around in diamond-studded sunglasses, and floor-length mink. No one noticed the sudden shift in energy until Kim Kardashian stepped in, her heels clicking against polished concrete. The security detail parted like waves, and the whispers began immediately. Why was she here? And why now? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on, to the lighting in the room, to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex.
She didn't walk in alone. At her side was a long-time associate, someone who, in industry circles, had ties to nearly every major hip-hop executive of the early 2000s. But the person she was there to see wasn't just any executive, it was Sean Diddy Combs. The air between them had always been strange, mutual respect, twisted with something colder, heavier. Rumors had long circulated about a private encounter years ago that both camps had refused to acknowledge, but tonight it seemed Kim had come to confront that very silence, and when she asked to speak with Diddy in private, no one stopped her, not even his handlers. The two disappeared into a backstage green room. The door pulled shut behind them. What happened next would remain buried for nearly a decade, until a former sound tech, recently emboldened by a string of lawsuits and industry confessions, finally shared a partial transcript of what was caught on a hot mic. The audio was never meant to be heard by the public, but the conversation captured that night between Kim and Diddy shook those who heard it to their core. Kim's voice was firm, low. "You know why I'm here," she said. Diddy's response was laced with caution. "I was wondering how long it would take." They talked about a night in 2011, a house in the hills, a private event that was never publicized, never photographed, never documented on social media. According to Kim, she was invited under the guise of a branding opportunity, just a quick appearance, nothing major, but once inside, she said the mood changed. "There were people there I didn't expect," she told Diddy. "Celebrities, sure, but others too. People with power, people you never see in the tabloids." The hot mic captured long pauses between their words, like they were measuring each sentence against a ticking clock. Kim brought up the drinks, how she had taken one sip of a champagne flute and immediately felt wrong, how she was led upstairs and told to wait in a room, how she left in a rush, stumbling to her car, never speaking about it to anyone, not even her family. Diddy didn't deny the party, but what rattled everyone who heard the recording was that he didn't deny the other part either. Instead, he said, "You weren't supposed to see what you saw." Those 7 words changed everything. The next part of the tape revealed something more chilling. Kim said she had considered going to the press multiple times over the years, but each time something stopped her. Anonymous threats, sudden calls to her lawyers, paparazzi tailing her at odd hours. She described a slow, calculated pressure campaign designed to make her question her memory, her safety, and even her sanity. "You think this has been easy for me?" she said. "Every time I built something, something else would crash. I was never sure if it was bad luck or you." Diddy didn't respond for a full 30 seconds. Then he said, "I told them to protect the brand, not to scare you." That line, too, would haunt listeners. Because what was the brand? Was it his empire? The image of luxury, control, and untouchable cool that Diddy had curated for decades? Or was it something bigger, something more systemic? By the time the two emerged from the green room, their expressions were unreadable. Diddy offered her a nod, and Kim left without another word. At the time, no one thought much of it, just 2 industry titans exchanging words. But the truth was beginning to unravel. The sound tech who leaked the tape said he held on to it for years, afraid of what might happen if it got out. It wasn't until the floodgates of Hollywood began to burst. One scandal, one expose, one fallen mogul after another, that he felt the time had come. Once the tape was out, others began speaking too. A stylist who worked the same party said she saw Kim leave, pale and shaking. A driver recalled that Kim paid him double and asked him to speed away from the location, refusing to say a word for the entire ride. Another guest at the event, whose name was redacted in the official report, claimed that the upstairs rooms were off-limits and highly secured, and that only a select few were allowed inside. When the media caught wind of the leak, the story blew up instantly. The Kardashians refused to comment at first. Kris Jenner, known for her iron grip on media narratives, was unusually silent. Kim's team neither confirmed nor denied the authenticity of the tape, but sources close to her began planting subtle hints that, yes, she had been somewhere she didn't want to be, and yes, someone powerful made sure she stayed quiet. For Diddy, the backlash was immediate. He denied everything, of course. He claimed the tape was doctored, the voices fabricated, the context manipulated. His legal team launched a cease and desist campaign, threatening to sue anyone who hosted or referenced the recording. But by then, the damage was done. Social media erupted. Fans debated the timeline. Independent investigators began connecting dots, bringing up other mysterious parties, other unexplained disappearances from the spotlight. People who had once defended Diddy now fell silent. Others, emboldened, began sharing their own experiences, some strange, some horrifying, all eerily consistent. For Kim, it was a moment of reckoning, not just for what she'd been through, but for the cost of silence. Sources close to her said she'd spent years trying to forget the file, as she called it, the part of her memory she kept locked away in favor of family, fashion, and fame. But when that tape came out, there was no more forgetting. What followed was a shift in her public image. Gone was the influencer obsessed with selfies and curated luxury. In her place emerged a more somber, focused Kim. She spoke at women's rights panels. She hinted in interviews that fame was never as sparkly as it looked. She even began funding a new initiative aimed at protecting young women in the entertainment industry from predatory practices, an initiative that, ironically, Diddy himself had once pledged to support. And the story kept evolving. More details came out. A confidential informant claimed that Kim's presence at that 2011 party was not accidental, but orchestrated, her brand rising, her influence expanding, and someone wanting leverage. The phrase insurance policy kept appearing in private texts and old internal memos from a now-defunct media firm rumored to be connected to Diddy's team. The public's fascination only grew. Documentaries were greenlit. Podcasts broke down every line of the tape, every hesitation, every pause. Attorneys whispered about a sealed deposition involving multiple A-listers. One tabloid claimed the FBI had begun investigating ties between Diddy's events and a broader network of coercion within the celebrity elite. Though unconfirmed, the allegation sent ripples through the entire entertainment world. But the question remained, why did Kim confront him that night? Why not go public earlier? Some said it was because she finally felt powerful enough. Others said it was her way of warning him that the truth was catching up. A few believed it was guilt. Guilt over staying silent while others may have suffered. Whatever her reason, one thing was clear. The backstage encounter that had once been a footnote in an otherwise glamorous evening had become a pivotal moment in one of the entertainment industry's most tangled and ominous scandals. And Kim Kardashian, once dismissed as a reality star with no substance, was now the face of a darker, more complex battle for truth, safety, and justice.